think, you consume. And don't look at me as if you didn't know, because you know. You feel it. Inside you, there's something dying every time you open another social network, every time you scroll without looking, without thinking, without choosing. And the worst part isn't that you do it. The worst part is that you've convinced yourself that you can't stop. We live in the era of mental zapping. We jump from one content to another as if silence would burn us, as if a pause meant death. And do you know why? Because we have been trained for this. Because there are scientists, psychologists, designers, and executives who have spent years turning your attention into merchandise. And you, without realizing it, have given them your soul in exchange for dopamine in 15-second doses. Mental decay did not arrive suddenly. It was a subtle invasion, a caress that turned into a chain. First came rapid entertainment, then programmed outrage, and then emotional exhaustion. We have become addicts to the immediate, compulsive consumers of emotions that do not belong to us. Sad stories, laughing videos, extreme opinions, all served without pause, without filter, without digestion. But wait. Stop. Because here comes what you didn't expect. This is not the end. It's the beginning. We are on the verge of a new era, and you feel it, even if you don't know how to name it. That mental fatigue you drag is not a sign of weakness. It's a cry from your conscience. It's your mind saying, "Enough already." You no longer want content. You want connection. You no longer want noise. You want meaning. This is the start of the post-brain rot era, an era where we do not seek likes, but truth, where we do not chase virality, but coherence, where we stop being numbed spectators and become conscious creators. And no, it is not a utopia. It is an evolutionary necessity, because the human soul is not designed to consume endlessly without breaking inside, because the mind, when dragged into noise, atrophies, but when it finds silence, it flourishes. We were lied to. They told us that more information was equal to more wisdom, that being connected was the same as being present, that knowing everything would make us better. But the truth is this: knowing everything makes you superficial. Knowing a little about 1,000 things does not build identity. It only feeds the illusion that you are awake when in reality, you are asleep with your eyes open. Have you ever wondered why it's so hard for you to concentrate? Why can't you read a book without checking your phone every 10 minutes? Why do you feel you can't be alone with your thoughts? It's not a coincidence, it's a consequence. Your brain has been reprogrammed. Your circuits have been redirected. Every notification, every short video, every polarizing opinion has rewritten what was once your attention span. And it's not just a matter of technology, it's psychological, it's emotional. The content we consume is designed to manipulate our most primitive responses: fear, desire, anger, pleasure. They feed us emotionally addictive content because they know that the rational does not retain. They know that critical thinking bores a mind trained for constant stimulus. But here's the twist. Here's the mystery that you still don't fully understand. Your fatigue is a superpower. Your tiredness is not weakness, it's a signal. You are waking up. You're beginning to suspect that all this content circus has no soul. And you're starting to search for what really matters. And you know it. You feel it every time you watch a video that doesn't yell at you, that doesn't push you, that doesn't manipulate you. And you stay watching it to the end. Because something inside you says, "This is it. This is different. This is real." Platforms are changing, not because they want to, but because they have no choice. Users no longer want emotional junk. They no longer want reels with the same music, the same dances, the same dramas. They want meaning. They want depth. They want content that doesn't leave them empty, but full, not of information, but of understanding. We are mutating. We are stopping being consumers and starting to be seekers. Seekers of truth, of silence, of beauty, of coherence, and yes, the transition will be painful, because the soul addicted to noise suffers in silence, because thinking again hurts, because the first contact with depth is like the first sip of a wine not designed to please everyone, but to transform those who know how to wait. But that pain is necessary, because it is part of detachment. Because only when we stop longing for what destroys us can we begin to build what heals us. The post-brain rot era is not a movement. It is an inevitable evolution. It is the human soul saying, "Enough of noise. I want truth." And you have a choice. You can continue in the cycle. You can continue dragging your mind through the mud of hyperstimulation. You can keep believing that every notification matters, that every external opinion has value, that every minute must be filled with something. Or you can stop, breathe, choose, filter. You can begin to build a different relationship with the digital. You can become a creator, even if you record nothing. Creator of your time, of your silence, of your thoughts. You can redesign your consumption. You can go back to reading slowly, to looking long, to listening deeply. And here's the message that nobody wants to tell you because it doesn't sell. Content that's worth it is not always entertaining, not always easy, not always immediate, but it transforms, it changes, it restores, it enlightens. You are not broken, your brain is not damaged, it's just overstimulated. And what you need is not more content, it's less, better, slower, deeper. Look around. Look at the empty faces in the subway. Look at the eyes that don't look, that just blink in front of a screen. Look at the conversations interrupted by phantom vibrations. Look at the children who no longer play, just swipe. Look and tell me if that's progress or anesthesia. Mental decay is not invisible. It's everywhere. But so is the desire to feel again, to think, to create. And if you've gotten this far, it's because you too are waking up. You're not alone. More and more of us want to break the cycle. We are looking for something more. We believe that the future is not in speed, but in depth. We think that true luxury is not connectivity, but clarity. Remember this. The algorithm doesn't think for you. The algorithm doesn't know who you are. The algorithm just repeats what you consume. If you change what you look at, you change who you are. If you change the stimulus, you change your structure. If you change your mental diet, you change your life. You are not a victim. You are responsible. Not of the system, but of your response to it. This is the beginning of something new. Don't wait for it to be served to you. It won't come viralized. It will come in the form of silence, of pause, of discomfort. And if you can endure it, if you can stay there, on the other side you will find something you lost a long time ago. Your attention, and with it, your power. Welcome to the post-brain rot era, because here's something nobody dares say out loud. We think we know a lot, but in reality, we understand very little. And that is also part of this silent, subtle, lethal mental decay. We have been sold the idea that being informed is being awake. That reading headlines is equivalent to reading ideas. That opining about everything is a sign of awareness. But what really happens is something else. We are in an era where over-information is making us ignorant. Not because we don't have access, but because depth has been replaced by speed. And that speed kills. It kills analysis, reflection, memory. We move so fast from one topic to another that we don't let anything settle. We consume ideas as if they were snacks, not as if they were food. And the worst part is that this illusion of knowledge makes us arrogant. It's ignorance dressed as certainty. Think about this. How many times did you share something you didn't fully understand? How many times did you give your opinion without having read beyond the first paragraph? How many times did you feel informed simply because the algorithm put a trend in front of you? That's the new trap. We no longer need to know. We just need to seem like we know. The human mind was not designed to absorb so much, so quickly, without consequences. Our ancestors contemplated. They digested, they stopped, we scroll, and in that constant scrolling, meaning is lost. And without meaning, knowledge is useless. It only inflates the ego. It only makes you feel like you're in control when in reality, you're adrift. And here comes another uncomfortable truth. Immediacy has killed intellectual humility. Today, anyone believes they are right just because they read it quickly. No one doubts, no one asks, no one says, I don't know, but I want to understand. We live with Google at hand, but without the willingness to delve into anything. It's the paradox of the digital age. Everything is within reach, but no one stops to truly reach. And no, this is not the fault of technology. Technology is neutral. It's a tool. What has made us fragile is our relationship with it. It's the way we have let it direct our attention. Because where attention goes, energy flows. And where energy flows, being is built. So look at yourself. Observe how you consume. Are you learning something or just accumulating stimuli? Are you cultivating thought or just feeding anxiety? Do you read to understand or read to feel you're not falling behind? Because that's another wound of this era, the constant fear of missing out. FOMO, the famous fear of missing out. But what if I tell you that the truly terrifying thing is not missing out on something, but not delving into anything? What if the real luxury is not being up to date, but being present? What if real knowledge is the kind that transforms, not the kind that entertains? Here is where the video takes a deeper turn. It's not enough to turn off the noise. You have to relearn to think. Because thinking hurts. It's uncomfortable. It's lonely. Thinking demands confronting yourself without filters, without immediate stimuli. Thinking is a rebellious act in a world that wants you entertained. And that's why most avoid it. Because there are no likes. Because there are no applause. Because real thinking is not spectacular, it's silent. But that's where mental freedom is built. Do you want to leave behind the era of brain rot? Then start by dismantling the lie of I know. Start by embracing doubt. By reading books you don't understand at first. By listening to ideas that don't reinforce your biases. By stepping out of the algorithm that tells you what you want to hear and seeking what makes you uncomfortable. Because there lies the evolution. There lies the fire. The superficial will always be easier. It will always be more comfortable. But it will also be what keeps you trapped. And if you're here, if you're still listening, it's because you no longer want comfort. You want clarity. You want to break the illusion. Breaking the illusion of knowledge is also killing the digital ego. That ego that needs to be present in all debates, even though it has nothing to say. That ego that responds before listening. That ego that confuses visibility with truth. Because not everything that shines is wisdom. Often it's just vanity with good filters. Here's another brutal truth. A mind that doesn't doubt rots. Because without doubt, there is no search. And without search, there is no transformation. So start doubting everything you consume. Question. Break it down. Deconstruct it. Even this video, even this voice, because if you don't think for yourself, someone else will think for you. And thinking for you is the most revolutionary act you can perform in this century. Do you feel it? That discomfort in your chest? It's your conscience trying to wake up. Don't turn it off. Don't distract it. Don't put background music on it. Listen to it. Because it's telling you that there is still time. You can still get out of the whirlwind. You can still build a mind that doesn't depend on constant stimuli to exist. The post-brain rot era is not a trend. It's a return to real thought, to introspection, to pause, to the human. And you decide if you want to be part of it, because the change is not going to come from the mainstream media. It won't come from the algorithm. It will come from within, from each person who dares to think, even if it hurts, to feel, even if it doesn't give likes, to be present, even if it's slower. Because in the end, what the world needs most is not more content, it's more awareness. Because there's a silent consequence that no one is mentioning. We are beginning to build our identities based on what we consume, not on what we experience. Listen to this. We are no longer what we experience, we are what we follow, what we see, what we share, what we keep in a favorites folder that we will never open again. Our personality has become a distorted mirror of what the algorithm shows us. And that distortion is not innocent. It's directed, shaped, designed to fit you into a mold that you don't even realize you're occupying. How is that mold constructed? With statistics, with behavioral patterns, with data, with formulas that say, if you liked this, you probably are like this. And you accept it, you embrace it, even defend it, because it's easier to let yourself be defined than to sit down and discover who you really are without all those borrowed layers. Have you ever wondered if your opinions are really yours? If that style you defend is an authentic expression or a trend that the algorithm served you for weeks until you confused it with identity? We don't realize it, but we are externalizing our personal construction. There's no longer an I that forms through experience, through contradiction, through error. There's an I molded by the constant confirmation of content that adapts to your beliefs, to your momentary emotions, to your emotional deficiencies. And here enters an even deeper topic: the disappearance of the intimate self. That self that doesn't need to be seen to exist. That self that doesn't share every thought, that doesn't turn every emotion into an Instagram story, that doesn't measure its value in views. That self is disappearing, and with it disappears the internal sanctuary, the mental sanctuary where one can be silent with oneself and say, "This is me," even though no one sees it. The public has devoured the private. And that also breaks us, because identity needs space to mature in solitude. But if every step of your personal construction is shared, commented on, validated or rejected in real time, where does the process stay? Where does real evolution stay? Where does the right to change without having to justify yourself in front of anyone stay? We are becoming characters who play themselves, in edited versions of an authenticity that we no longer even remember how it sounds. And the most twisted part is that this constant performance is not only exhausting, it's addictive, because it gives us something that the real world doesn't always offer: immediate validation. You feel insecure, you post a photo, you feel confused, you share a phrase that you don't fully understand, but that sounds profound. You feel alone. You launch a cryptic message hoping someone will decipher it. And little by little, you build a personality that doesn't live in you, but outside. That doesn't stand on its own, but in the gaze of others. This is not just philosophical, it's psychological. Because when you externalize your identity, you delegate your self-esteem. You give the keys of your worth to a system that doesn't know you, that doesn't want to know you, and that only measures you in terms of clicks. And that's where the real decay begins, when the digital mirror becomes the only reflection you accept as real. But there's more, because this fragmentation of the digital identity has also killed something sacred: boredom. And yes, boredom was essential. It was that space where imagination was born, where original ideas sprouted, where you forced yourself to be with yourself, to look out the window, to wander, to connect dots. But now, as soon as there's a second of emptiness, we pull out the phone, we fill the gap, and we kill the germ of any original idea before it has the slightest chance to flourish. Have you ever wondered why there are fewer and fewer people with truly new ideas? Because everyone is busy watching others' ideas. Because everyone is trapped in a content wheel where creativity is an echo, not a spark. Look around. Everything looks the same. The opinions, the videos, the songs that play in the background, the phrases on t-shirts, everything is recycled, remixed, redesigned to look fresh. But it's dead inside. Because it wasn't born from a pause. It wasn't born from boredom. It wasn't born from you. And here comes the core of this extension. We are losing the right to be alone with ourselves without feeling empty. And that's devastating. Because if you can't be with yourself in silence without feeling that something is missing, then you'll never be able to discover who you really are. You will always be looking outside for what can only emerge from within. And do you know what's the worst? If you don't recover that space of mental intimacy, you will become what the algorithm needs, not what you are. You will live adapted, crushed, blurred among millions of profiles that look alike, that sound the same, that feel the same because they have been molded by the same stimuli, the same idols, the same fears. But you were not born for that. You were not born to become one more copy. You were not born to spend your entire life watching how others live theirs, while you numb yourself with content that is increasingly shorter, more hollow, more easy to forget. And if you've gotten this far, it's because something inside you already knew it, because that self that has been silent all this time wants out, wants space, wants silence, wants air, not to shout, but to exist. And now we arrive at the edge of the abyss, where only two options remain: to jump or to continue repeating the same cycle. But before you decide, I want you to pause for a moment. Breathe, close your eyes if you can. Listen to this not with your ears, but with that part of you that has been sleeping for a long time, your conscience. Because this is where it gets really interesting. We didn't come here just to talk about the problem and that's it. We came to make you see something you might have never considered. All this digital machinery, this entire ecosystem of constant stimulus, is not invincible. It's not a god. It's not an eternal curse. It has cracks, and those cracks are you. Every time you choose not to react, you make a crack. Every time you ignore a notification, you make a crack. Every time you choose silence, the slow book, the deep conversation, instead of the instant noise, you are breaking the spell. You are a threat to the system. Because the system feeds on your lack of attention, on your distraction, on your emptiness. But when you decide to fill yourself from within, it wobbles. Because it can't control you if it can't predict you. And that's what they fear the most. An unpredictable mind. A mind that doesn't jump to the next video just because it started by itself. A mind that doesn't let itself be dragged by the current of the easy. A mind that thinks, that chooses, that feels. A mind that is alive. And here's the last great truth. To be free today is not to rebel with shouts. It's to rebel with silence. It's not to participate. It's to disappear for a while. To build something that can't be measured in views. To recover your fragmented soul, piece by piece. Because you don't need to be faster, nor more productive, nor more visible. You need to be more you. And you won't find that in any tutorial. You will find it in the discomfort of looking at yourself without filters, in the emptiness that appears when all the noise turns off, in that kind of existential vertigo that many confuse with loneliness, but that in reality is misunderstood freedom. And if you made it this far, if you listened to everything without fast-forwarding, without getting distracted, without running away, then you've already taken the first step. Because that weird electricity you just felt in your chest, that's what happens when a dormant part of you starts to wake up. So don't bury it again. Take care of it, listen to it, protect it from the noise. And now, if this moved even a single neuron, I invite you to something that is not asked out of habit, but out of conviction. Subscribe. But only if you're willing to think, to question, to return. We don't sell dopamine here. We come to be uncomfortable, to sharpen the mind, to rebuild from the root. And if you want to be part of this silent movement, leave me a phrase in the comments. Not just any phrase, not an emoji, a single phrase that confirms you've understood what this is all about. Write it. I chose silence. That will be the signal, the mark, the crack in the algorithm. And now I say goodbye, not with a cliché phrase, not with just any farewell. I say goodbye with a question that will follow you even when you close this video, when you turn off the screen, when you're in the dark in your room thinking about nothing or everything. What if the real you only appears when no one is watching? I'll see you, if you decide to return. Or rather, we'll meet in the silence.